Happy New Year, everyone. We finally escaped the hell that was 2021. Definitely not a perfect year, but there's one thing that made it slightly better. Movies. We finally had some good movies this year. Shang-Chi, Suicide Squad, Mortal Kombat, and so many more. And as a fan of animation, I couldn't complain either. Stuff like Mitchell's vs. the Machines, Demon Slayer, Luca, Attack on Titan, Arcane, which was one of the best pieces of art ever made. It was a pretty great year for me, a pretty big animation fan. But there was one animated film that I did not expect to be at the top of my list as my favorite film of the year, and probably one of my favorite films of all time, Encanto. Yeah, House of Mouse production, with so many other great animated things coming out, and with Arcane taking up most of the space in my brain for almost 2 months. I really didn't expect anything to measure up, especially not a Disney movie. And while Arcane is my favorite TV show and probably the best piece of art I've ever seen, Encanto was pretty special to me too. I honestly went in with zero expectations from Encanto. I mean, I'm not the biggest Walt Disney animation fan, especially after Frozen, so yeah, I didn't even have any expectations, especially with stuff like Arcane and Mitchell's vs. the Machines, showing how great stylized CG animation can be. The only thing that had me excited for Encanto was the fact that it takes place in Colombia. And since some of you know, I am actually part Colombian. I mean, I'm kind of watered down since I can't really speak Spanish well and I'm Americanized as hell, but still a part of me that's important. And it made me and my family kind of excited for Encanto. So we sat down and gave it a watch, and yeah, it was beautiful. Like I've probably said many times before, I'm a big fan of 2D animation over CG. But Encanto feels different than so many other CG animated films, especially Disney films, just because of the way everything moves. Everything moves so smoothly, so beautifully, so vibrant, fresh, energetic. The colors pop, giving us beautiful looks at the colorful village. For me, it was the first time a Disney animation proved that they knew the strengths of the medium. It's always moving, always exaggerated without feeling weightlessness. It's energetic, fun, lively. Something that Pixar gets right with 3D animation, but something that kind of felt that Walt Disney animation struggled with. But Encanto just has fun. It uses creative movement, creative camera moves for not only one of the most fun CG animated movies to watch, but also just one of the most visually stunning. The music was also surprisingly great. I was a bit scared when I heard that Lin-Manuel Miranda was the songwriter, since I'm not the biggest Lin-Manuel Miranda fan. But he does a great job here compared to his other music. And also, props to Disney for not putting one but 2 entirely Spanish songs in there. I didn't expect them to have the balls to do that, but it was really nice to hear. Another thing about Encanto that made me love it so much was the way it portrayed Colombia. It's so nice to see a film filled with only characters from my culture. It didn't just show the beauty either, though. It showed the violence in Colombia, something I didn't expect from Disney, but showed that the people making this did care enough to portray Colombia accurately. You don't see many films with a full cast of Colombian characters, but Encanto just does a great job of giving them all depth, vibrance, and life. And my favorite part of Encanto was those characters, of course. Encanto tells the story of the Madrigal family, a family blessed with magical abilities through each generation, except for Mirabel, the only child in her family without powers. The film follows her struggles to prove herself to her family, even though everyone else seems so much more special than her. Now with Disney, there's always a hint of predictability when it comes to their films, and Encanto does have a few moments like this, but overall it feels completely fresh compared to their other films. There's virtually no stakes, no life or death, and no big fight at the end, no twist villain. It's just about a family, a broken family, finding their way back together. I was completely expecting Bruno to be a twist villain, but there wasn't. In fact, there wasn't even a villain, and that worked. All the conflict came from the characters, their insecurities, and that's beautiful to see. It was especially amazing with Mirabel, a character so relatable because she's just normal, a normal girl that screws up a lot. Her whole character is about accepting that she doesn't need to be special to be loved by her family, about finding her place in a family. And I'm so glad they just didn't give her a gift at the end of the film. Encanto, even with such a big cast, manages to let most of its characters flourish with depth, and each character felt useful to telling the story of insecurity and finding your place in a family that you don't have to be special to be loved. And Encanto shows that love from its first moments to its closing scenes. It doesn't show love in big action set pieces, but in little moments, quiet moments, beautiful moments. Encanto tells a message that most kids need to hear, but it tells a message in such a way that anyone can relate. I sure did. I felt the pain all the characters felt, feeling like less, feeling weak, and that's rare for me, especially for a Mickey Mouse production. I love being able to see myself in these characters, both culturally and emotionally. And if you've learned anything about me from my Arcane video, you probably guessed that I've rewatched this thing a lot. And for some reason I have not been able to stop, and I don't entirely know why. So I'm going to try and rationalize my deepest feelings about the movie right now. Sure, Encanto isn't the best film ever made. It's a bit predictable and obviously a bit childish, but it's so full of heart, so refreshing, so small yet so big to me. It sounds a bit weird even for me, the most Americanized Colombian in the world, to say, but seeing Encanto represent Colombia, seeing these characters hit me harder than I thought it would. I didn't just see your average Disney character, I saw my people, my family, and hell, even saw a little bit of me in there. And I love that. In this scene, I saw my relationship with my own cousins. In this one, I saw my parents. I saw my own feelings of feeling out of place in my own family. And this movie kind of helped me realize that I'm just as part of my family as everyone else. In my Arcane video, I said that that show was so emotionally resonant with me that it managed to break me. But Arcane, my favorite television show of all time, broke me. Encanto, which will probably be my second favorite film of all time, used that resonance to fix me. It sounds incredibly corny, yeah, but for all its flaws, I love this movie. Encanto wasn't the best film of the year, yeah, but I love it so much more than any other movie I've watched this year. And with so many other amazing things this year, I was surprised at that. The movement, the music, the vibrance, the heart, all of it worked for me. And that's why I love Encanto.